Ebola 2026 outbreak. Ebola is a deadly disease. It's transmitted through direct contact with bodily fluids of infected animals and individuals. It is believed to have been started from fruit bats in Africa. On the right, you see a chart which shares the information of confirmed cases, confirmed deaths, probable cases, probable deaths in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and France in 2026. Towards the bottom of the chart, you see reported deaths. Looking at the left, we have symptoms. Ebola has both wet and dry symptoms. The dry symptoms begin before wet symptoms begin, and they consist of headaches, fever, weakness and fatigue, loss of appetite, sore throat, muscle and joint aches and cramps. And after about 4 to 5 days of the dry symptoms that you would be experiencing, you'll begin to develop more of what is considered the wet symptoms, or symptoms that your illness of Ebola is progressing. That consists more of the abdominal GI tract side of things, such as nausea, abdominal pain, vomiting and diarrhea, and unexplainable internal bleeding. Signs that you're progressing a little more would be things such as chest pain, shortness of breath, confusion, rash, seizures, and hiccups, in addition to those other wet and dry symptoms. Symptoms begin between days 2 and 21 following contact of the exposure of the infected person or animal with the Ebola. And as I said before, those dry symptoms become first, and signs that your illness is progressing is developing those wet symptoms. Below this is method of transmission. I said previously that transmission is typically animal to animal or animal to person. It's very rarely person to person. Transmission comes from a deceased animal's bodily fluids, feces, contaminated surfaces coming directly in contact with either a human or that other animal. It is very rare that Ebola spreads from person to person. Looking to the right, you will understand how CDC is taking action during this 2026 outbreak. They're taking both global and United States action. Starting with the global action that the CDC is taking is that they are working closely with the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda healthcare agencies by helping aid them in communication, making and tracking points of disease and contact, taking note on those things to help their healthcare organizations know what level the outbreak is on. They are helping with infection control and prevention. They're helping as well with lab samples and virus sequencing to know which kind of the virus is active and stay on top of spread as much as possible. In the United States, the CDC placed restrictions on both U.S. and non-U.S. citizens on traveling into the United States. Non-U.S. citizens, if they have traveled in outbreak locations in the prior 3 weeks, they are not allowed into the United States. And while we're monitoring U.S. citizens, they have to go through screening if they have traveled from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, or South Sudan in the last 3 weeks. The primary goals that CDC has in place are communicating travel health notices, providing screenings and restrictions for prevention of the Ebola spread in the United States, and they are rapidly working to prepare in case we have any cases that do reach us in the United States. Below that is a map showing the places in Africa that are affected by the Ebola virus and giving you an idea of those territories and boundaries, what they look like next to each other, and where the confirmed cases are more prevalent, where they're less prevalent. The bottom left here says that the CDC advises those who feel sick after returning home from affected locations within 21 days to contact a doctor. You are not supposed to travel. You are supposed to isolate yourself, and you are to seek immediate care and stay quarantined in your area. That's my infographic on the Ebola outbreak of 2026.